Time for Tuesday Night Baseball here at the Big A. The Chicago Cubs in town for a quick two-game series as the Angels try to erase the memory of the Houston Astros this past weekend. Hi, everybody, from inside the Big A and alongside my partner, Mark Gubizon, Victor Rojas. So glad you could join us for Angels baseball once again here on Fox Sports West. And to mention that Houston Astros sweep of the Angels prompted a team meeting. 27 minutes, the clubhouse doors were closed. Mike Scioscia addressed the ball club, and usually those team meetings occur right before the ace is about to take the mound, and Jared Weaver just so happens will be towing the slab for the Angels tonight.
Yeah, good decision by Mike Scioscia to have that meeting, no question about it, Victor. Jared Weaver has been the guy here for such a long period of time for the Angels. They need a win. They have him out there on the mound, so competitive. And what he did his last game out against the Dodgers was outstanding, considering the fact is he hadn't pitched in so long, but he didn't miss a beat. His fastball command the first inning or so, not necessarily Weaver-like, but then he settled in. His slider was outstanding. His changeup came along. His curveball was very good. And you look up 6 shutout innings for him, just 7 punch-outs. So he threw the ball exceptionally well. He's been amazing when you look at it in his last 12 interleague starts, 8-0 with an ERA under 2. Reason? They don't really know him real well in the National League. The deception's there. His ability to spot his fastball, that great arm angle he creates, and his changeup curveball slider combination makes it very difficult for National Leaguers to get a read against him.
And with that 6-man rotation, he's got an extra days of rest to see how he feels in his second start since coming off the disabled list. The Angels will face a familiar foe. Scott Feldman, the former Texas Ranger, will go for the Chicago Cubs. We're just about ready for baseball here at the Big A, so sit back and relax. We're going to bring you the lineups in the first pitch when we return. Welcome you back to the Big A. Game number 1 of this 2-game set between the Angels and the Cubs. It's a 4-game season series, 2 here and then 2 at Wrigley Field in July. A little Jim Croce for you.
Yes.
Takes you back to your roller skating days on Fridays and Saturdays.
Oh, can't beat those days.
Back in Philly. The Angels wearing their pearly white home uniforms. Let's see how the effect of that team meeting has on this ball club. You've been through a lot of them. We've talked about a lot of them over the last year and a half. And like we said, it usually happens when your ace is on the mound the next day, and that typically helps.
Yeah, generally as a manager, you don't want to have those meetings. You want the players to take care of the game itself and provide the energy. But Mike Scioscia felt that was a time he had to go out and speak his mind and make sure this team is focused to play. And it certainly helps when you know you have Jared Weaver on the hill the next day. But the reality is your starting pitcher sets the tempo, but it's going to come down to what they do with the bats here tonight to determine who wins.
Yeah, because the pitching has been solid for the Angels of late. The bats have been very, very quiet since the 2-game little sweep here at home of the Dodgers, losing the 4 consecutive games to the Houston Astros, and now find themselves once again 8 games under 500. Let's take a look at Dale Swain and his starting 9 for the Chicago Cubs. 4th in the National League Central Division, 14 games back with a 23-32 record. David DeJesus leads things off. He's in center field. Luis Valbuena, the former Cleveland Indians, at third base. Anthony Rizzo's been swinging a very hot bat at first base. Alfonso Soriano will serve as the DH. Nate Shearholz, a former San Francisco Giant, is in right field. Ryan Sweeney, remember him from his Oakland A's days. He is in left. Starlin Castro, a star in the making. He's the shortstop. Wellington Castillo gets a start behind the plate. It's Darwin Barney, sure-handed second baseman, batting ninth. They will be taking on Jared Weaver with the win in his last start. 1-1 on the year, 3.71 ERA.
Yeah, look at his last 42 home starts as the team. 33-9. He is 53-20 in 100 career starts here. So he's been very effective at the Big A. He's been very effective everywhere he pitches. Been great in overall in interleague play also. 13-3 with 2.65 ERA in interleague play for Jared Weaver.
Let's check out the defense behind Jared Weaver tonight. J.B. Shuck at left, Mike Trout at center, Josh Hamilton in right. The infield has Alberto Callasco, Eric Ibar, Howie Kendrick, and Albert Pujols around from third to first, and Chris Iannetta behind the plate.
And you just feel the one guy that I think is going to be energized tonight is Josh Hamilton. Going to be active out there in the outfield. Weaver generally a fly ball type pitcher. Weaver getting those fly balls. Hamilton running down the energy. 3 outfield assists so far this year for Hamilton in right field. So I look for him to have that energy, make the plays, and show that strong arm.
Well, you look for little things to kind of key off of to see if guys can get going. Perhaps that plate appearance last night in the 9th inning as a pinch hitter resulting in a walk starts Hamilton going against the Chicago Cubs and for the Angels. First one tonight is in for a strike. David DeJesus, the center fielder for the Cubs, hitting .277 this season. 5 home runs, 17 runs batted in, has 14 doubles and 1 triple. In year number 2 of a 2-year deal that he signed with the Chicago Cubs. Now it is just off the plate. 1 ball, 1 strike.
This is one guy you have to always be concerned about. He's got great career numbers against Weaver and the Angels overall. 306 against Weaver with 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, a 337 career hitter against the Angels.
1-1 from Weaver. Looks like he slipped on the landing area. It's 2 balls and a strike. Let's take a look at our Hyundai key to the game.
Oh, Robin Thicke today. Blurred lines for Weaver. He has that great deception. Goes upstairs with the fastball, goes downstairs with a slider and curveball. The differential, very difficult for hitters to read pitches out of his hand.
Slow breaking pitch, a little bit high. It is 3 balls and a strike. You mentioned the good numbers DeJesus has in his career against Weaver. 306 average, 11 for 36 with a couple of home runs and 4 runs batted in. Former Kansas City Royal. 4th round pick by the Royals out of Rutgers back in 2000. This one's lifted in the air to shallow right. Kendrick going out. Hamilton, though, coming in, calls off Howie. There's the first down of the ball game. That'll bring up Luis Valbuena, third baseman. Valbuena 4 for 12 in his career against Weaver. .256. Has 6 home runs, 17 runs batted in. This is a Cubs team that has gone 10-16 out on the road this year. They've hit just .222 away from Wrigley. They've scored some runs at home.
Todd Hollinsworth, who's filling in for Jim Deshaies, who's on the Cubs television broadcast, telling me about what they've been averaging at home, about 5 runs a game offensively, but out on the road, a little bit different stories. That one is outside, 1-1.
Friendly confines of Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
Although they've had to deal with some cold weather, so the baseball wasn't necessarily carrying a lot beginning part of the year there in Chicago.
And the pitching and the hitting have not matched up with the home and road splits. Swing and a miss on the breaking ball, and it's 1-2. While the Cubs have pitched well out on the road and not at Wrigley, the offense has been cold on the road. That's why they continue to struggle.
This team is definitely going in the right direction. They have some pretty good young players.
Valbuena backing out at the plate. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out, just underway. David DeJesus with a fly ball to right field to start off the game. That's a breaking pitch that got him in the back leg. Although they wanted a appeal, he did not go, says Ed Hickox, the third base umpire. So hit by pitch, puts a man at first base, and will bring up Anthony Rizzo.
The reason why the appeal here, if he does go, it doesn't matter if you get hit with the pitch. If you cross that plate with the bat, it's a strikeout. No matter if you get hit with the ball or not. A breaking ball down and in. Valbuena out in front, but unable to avoid getting hit in the back leg.
Anthony Rizzo takes downstairs. 1 ball, no strikes. Rizzo, the first baseman. .256 batting average. 10 home runs, 36 runs batted in. 29 extra base hits. Second in the National League to Carlos Gonzalez of the Colorado Rockies. First baseman really holds those hands down low.
You mentioned that extra base power he has. He can hit the ball to all fields. You mentioned those young players. Castro at short, Barney at second, and Rizzo at first. That's a pretty good core of young players in your infield. And when you think about when you have a hitter with their hands that low, you think you can go upstairs with a fastball, especially inside. If you have a firm fastball, you go up and in on it, it'd be very difficult for him to be able to get his hands up quick enough to make good contact.
2 balls and 1 strike. Valbuena over at first base with 1 out. Quick throw to first. Valbuena's back easily.
It's not easy for Albert Pujols to pick up that pickoff throw from Weaver. A little bit of daylight still as he throws over. It looked like Albert had a tough time picking up that baseball.
Two-one pitch. Slow roller to the left side. Ibar has to go off his glove. With the overshift, nobody could get to that ball. A seeing eye single off the bat of Rizzo. And the Cubs have runners at first and second with 1 out. Soriano coming up.
We've seen over the last few games left-handed batters hitting through that shift in the infield. Just by Ibar because he's playing up the middle. Exposing that hole at shortstop, the normal position where Ibar would be, to a base hit. Instead of a double play, it's a base hit.
So here's Alfonso Soriano, the DH. .265 batting average with 6 home runs, 23 runs batted in. 37 years of age now. The first one is in for a strike. Soriano with 108 runs batted in last year. First time in his career. 100 or more runs batted in. Pardon me, third time in his career he's done that.
Grounded into 4 double plays this year, and Weaver's been pretty good. He's not necessarily a ground ball pitcher, but he can get these ground balls at this time.
Breaking pitch, foul back. Weaver ahead of the count at 0-2. Just a .303 on base percentage for Alfonso. Named for himself in New York, and Texas, and Washington, and signing that long-term deal, 8-year contract for Chicago Cubs.
Power, ability to steal bases. moved around a number of different defensive positions.
Yep. Remember when he got traded to the Washington Nationals? Frank Robinson was the manager at the time. Still thought of himself as a second baseman. The Nationals wanted to make him a left fielder. Soriano didn't want to play left field. 0-2 pitch. Upstairs, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Frank Robinson said, well, you can kindly sit on the bench, or we can suspend you, or you're going to play left field. He's been playing left field since.
Frank Robinson had that way of making sure you were going to do what he said you were going to do.
The 1-2. Swing and a miss. Down goes Soriano. 2 down.
It was that hard slider we saw last game from Weaver. A number of his punch outs. He had 7 in his first start back from the DL. Most of the swings and misses were on hard sliders, and this was a good hard slider at 82. Running away from Soriano. Get that second out of the inning. Tight, sharp slider from Weaver.
So 2 outs, 2 on. Nate Shearholt's the batter, the right fielder. First one's off the end of the bat. Loop foul on the third base side. 0-1 count.
A lot more curveballs in this first inning than we saw that last game now for Weaver. He's got good feel for that pitch early on. What it tells you, more than likely, down in the bullpen, he didn't feel he probably had his best velocity on his fastball, because there's going to be ebbs and flow when you come back from a long disabled list stint that Weaver had. So the fastball may not be there early on for him. So he's utilizing his curveball a little earlier than last game out.
Is that the product of the extra day off?
Could be. When we talked to him about that, initially he was like, yeah, it's not bad to have an extra day, but when you finally get yourself back into that rhythm, you want to make sure you're out there that every 5th day instead of an extra day with the 6-man rotation for that point. You won't see that anymore starting on Friday.
Mike Scioscia and Mike Butcher saying it wasn't just for Weaver, it was for the other guys as well in the rotations. That's outside. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. 20 pitches so far thrown by Jared. Joe Bland had a terrific game yesterday, matching a career high in strikeouts with 11, 8 innings. Took the loss. Now the 2-1 to Shearholtz. Missed in. 3 balls and 1 strike.
Tell you what, that's about as good as I've ever seen Joe Blanton throw the baseball. His changeup was great. His slider was very good. His command of his fastball, he threw 91 to 93. Great effort. No walks with those 11 strikeouts. Just 3 hits allowed.
Valbuena on at second base. He was hit by a pitch. Rizzo with a seeing eye singles at first. 3-1 pitch hit high and deep down the right field line. This one's hooking, and it is foul.
'87-mile-an-hour fastball out in the front. I've seen 85, 87, 88 from Weaver here in the first inning as far as fastball velocity. Again, sometimes you'll see any pitcher that first inning, you might not have your best fastball. Case in point, Justin Verlander throws about a 90, 91-mile-an-hour fastball in the first inning or so to get a feel for it. Then by the 6th, 7th, and 8th inning, he's throwing 97, 98. Now, Weaver won't be throwing 97, 98, but he'll get it up there 89 to 91 range.
Runners take off. The 3-2. Broken bat, soft liner past Pujols into right. Valbuena will score, and it's 1-0 Chicago here in the first. Sawed off his bat. The barrel ended up past the bag at first. Shearholtz picks up his 23rd RBI of the season.
When you give up a run on a hit by pitch on a slider down and in, and basically an infield hit off the end of the bat by Rizzo, then a broken bat by Shearholtz here upstairs with the fastball. It shatters the bat.
Rizzo ends up over at third base. Mike Butcher out to pay a visit. 23 pitches now thrown by Jared. The location has been off for Weaver here to start this ball game. Although, as you pointed out, nothing sharply hit. And Soriano on the strikeout. De Jesus on the fly to right to start off the game. And now Ryan Sweeney, a left-handed batter, will come up.
Another hitter who's had success against Weaver and the Angels throughout his career. 292 against Weave, 318 overall against the Angels.
And knowing that the Angels' offense has struggled the way it has, especially coming into a series against Houston, does that play with the psyche at all on the mound?
On most pitchers, I think, but with Weaver, he's so competitive. I don't think he wants to give up a foul ball, let alone a hit or a potential run in the first inning. So I don't think it changes his focus whatsoever. He realizes he's, as the ace, you want to put up as many zeros as possible as the game unfolds early on.
1 ball, 1 strike. Ryan Sweeney hitting .303 for the Cubs. His 21st game for them. Bounce foul on the third base side. It's 1-2. Sweeney was with the Red Sox during spring training, released on March 30th, and then signed a deal with the Cubs in early April. Originally in the White Sox system back in 2003, was drafted in the second round by them. 1-0 Cubs here in the first. Runners at first and third, 2 outs. Here's the pitch. Swing and a miss. Down he goes. The inning comes to an end. 2 strikeouts for Weaver, but a run comes in on a couple of hits. He heads to the bottom of the first. Ibar shot at Pujols. Angels down 1-0. On 1-0, a couple of strikeouts for Weaver, but a couple of seeing eyes singles, giving the Cubs the early lead. This is the lineup that Mike Scioscia runs out there for game number 59 for the Angels at 25-33. Eric Ibar leading things off at shortstop. Mike Trout at center. Albert Pujols back at first base. Mark Trumbo serving as a DH. Josh Hamilton in right field. Howie Kendrick at second. Alberto Callasco at third. Chris Sinetta is doing the catching, and J.B. Shuck plays left, and he will bat ninth as they take on the 30-year-old right-hander by the name of Scott Feldman, a Northern California native, at Burlingame, California.
He's throwing the ball well this year, 5-4 with a 2.82 ERA. Fastball, 87 and 93 range. So there's a lot of cut fastballs, curveball, and occasional split finger fastball. One thing though you got to keep an eye on. You should, anytime you're on base, try to steal a base against him. Base stealers have been successful 11 of 12 times this year, 20 of 23 times last season.
Yeah, he's always been very deliberate on the mound, whether as a reliever or as a starter. Signing this past offseason with the Cubs after coming up with the Texas Rangers. First one to Ibar is in for a strike. Eric hitting .268 with a home run and 12 runs batted in. Had a multi-hit game yesterday, going 2 for 4. A couple of singles. Valbuena in at third base, and we'll give you the Cubs defense here momentarily. 0-1. Down and in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Remember Feldman, when he first came up to the big leagues, was kind of a side armor. And then the Rangers decided to kind of elevate the arm angle a little bit. He picked up velocity, some sink on the fastball, and kind of a swing guy for a little bit, and then was a part of the rotation on a number of occasions for them. This one's pulled past Rizzo down the line. Schierholtz over to cut it off, does so. Ibar's trying to go to second. Schierholtz's throw is not in time. A leadoff double for Eric Ibar, his 12th of the year.
Well, he had to be aggressive at it. The batter's box. Schierholtz has a very strong, accurate throwing arm. All three outfielders for Chicago have good, accurate arms, but Schierholtz has the strongest arm of them all, playing right field tonight. So Ibar out of the batter's box, thinking double all the way. Head first slide, gets in there, lead off double, pressure on Feldman right away. 12th double of the year for Ibar.
So Mike Trout will step up now with a man in scoring position, and that's been the one thing that has really hurt this team in that 4-game sweep at the hands of the Astros, a situational hitting, or the lack thereof. 6 for 27 in that series against the Astros. Trout takes upstairs. 1 ball, no strikes. Mike hitting .299, 10 home runs, 38 runs batted in. And 2 for 3 games, including a sac fly. 16 doubles, 6 triples. There's the 1-0. Strike. Feldman, of course, having come up with Texas, has experience here in this ballpark. 10 games, 5 starts, a 2-4 record, and a 5.74 earned run average. Working from the stretch after Ibar led off the bottom of the first with a double. 1-1 pitch. Check swing foul over the screen, 1-2.
Feldman does create some pretty good arm angle to be able to have movement on his fastball. When he's going well, he's keeping the ball down and getting a lot of ground ball outs. Has that ability on occasion, especially with his breaking ball and a split finger fastball, to get a punch out. A lot of cut fastballs, a lot of two-seam fastballs. So both sides of the plate covered down in the strike zone.
Breaking pitch grounded towards short. Castro picks it cleanly, gets rid of it slowly, and Trout legs it out. Starlin Castro meet Mike Trout.
Yeah, didn't get that scouting report, how quick he is down the line. Well, he looked over, thought about the play at third base with Ibar going. Slowly hit. The Trout out of the batter's box, thinking he has a chance to beat that one out. He does so. Great hustle by Trout. I mean, Ibar's going because that ground ball's towards second base. If it's hit to his glove side, it's a little different story. But goes and able to get to third base, and that slight hesitation, Castro, even though he has a strong arm, can't throw out Trout.
And a good quick decision, too, by Ibar. No hesitation.
That's 2 good base running plays already by Ibar.
He read it and went to third. And here's Albert. Albert hitting .243, 8 home runs, 32 runs batted in after going 0 for 4 yesterday. Trout takes off. The pitch is inside to throw down to second. Not in time, a stolen base.
Just like we thought they were going to be extremely aggressive against Feldman. Gets a big jump, easily gets in. Now 2 men in scoring position for Pujols. Going on first pitch, we've said that a number of times this year. Why not? Even though Pujols is your run producer, much easier to be able to drive in 2 when he's in both of them in scoring position instead of being at first base.
Yeah. Infield playing back. 1-0 Cubs here in the first. 1-0 pitch. Inside. It's 2 balls and no strikes.
Pujols' career numbers against Cub pitching. .302 with 53 home runs. 135 RBI. A lot of games over the years playing against the Cubs in that NL Central. And successful years for Pujols.
.2-0 pitch. Takes a strike on the corner, 2-1. One of the phrases we heard coming out of that team meeting last night. the sense of urgency or lack thereof that we have seen from the Angels. And that's coming from Mike Scioscia. A little different his feel, if you will, with Ibar and Trout here in the first inning already. 2-1 pitch. That's in the air down the left field line. Will it be deep enough to score Ibar? Making the catch on it is Sweeney. And they're tied at 1. Albert picks up a sac fly. He's not happy with the overall at bat in that. He thought he had a pitch to drive there. Just got in enough on his hands, and he'll pick up his 33rd RBI.
That's good. The thing, he got inside enough on his hands. Normally, Pujols is so quick through that baseball, he can get his hands tucked in and drive that ball out of the ballpark. Job well done as far as getting the sac fly. But he runs that fastball in, not quite able to get his hands in and drive it out of the ballpark, but he is upset about himself because he thought in his mind he had a pitch to drive out of the yard, but the job was still done with a sac fly.
Now Trumbo gets an opportunity to try to put the Angels up. With Trout standing at second base, 1 out here the first, tied at 1. Good to see the Angels answer right back and run that Weaver allowed in that first inning. Trumbo had an 0 for 3 game yesterday. 268 on the year as they'll spin around. Check in on Trout. 13 home runs, 38 runs batted in. It's interesting, and you see that spin move with Trout at second after this weekend, the pickoff by Bud Norris Saturday night of Trout. That to me leads you to believe that there's something in a scouting report somewhere that's getting around that you got to pay attention to Trout, especially with a secondary lead. Outside, 1 ball.
But just look at the way Feldman turned around, the spin move, not as quick as Bud Norris's move.
No.
And I think he has that ability now, just looking at that move there, and not as quick as Norris. I think he can get an extra step or so. Even though Barney's basically playing right on the base, it's very difficult to get a bigger lead than he has. But with that speed and that read, and knowing he doesn't have necessarily a quick move to second, you might see him take a shot at it.
Play Sweeney very shallow in left field. 1-0 pitch. That's down and away. It's 2 balls and no strikes. De Jesus shading trouble the opposite way. So the center fielder to the alley at right center. Shearholz straight up and right. Leadoff double by Ibar. Infield single by Trout and a stolen base as well. And the Pujols sac fly to tie this one up. Thirteen pitches thrown by Feldman, 7 strikes, 6 balls so far.
Mentioned that lack of success here at the Big A for Feldman. Overall 4-6 with a 5.5 ERA against the Angels.
That is lined toward left field. Sweeney comes in. He'll make the catch. Again, getting in on the hands on that 2-0 pitch. 2 outs.
That's some good running action on the fastball, both the Pujols and the Trumbo in decent hitters' counts. See, as a hitter, you're looking and hoping for a fastball, and you start making that commitment to the fastball, then he runs it in on your hands. It's very difficult to get the bat through at that point.
Hamilton had a day off yesterday, but pinch hit in the 9th inning and drew the walk. Takes inside. Former teammates with the Rangers. Josh hitting .216 with 8 home runs, 18 runs batted in. And in that plate appearance last night, fell behind on Jose Veras at 0-2 before he worked the walk. Two balls and no strikes.
Cut fastball in, 2-seamer away. Especially he's played some center field over the years watching Feldman's pitches. So as a hitter, you have a good idea of tracking where these pitches are going to go. So advantage Hamilton against Feldman here.
Soft liner towards short. Castro makes the catch. And 3 jam shots after the first 2 guys reach. But the Angels do tie it up on the Pujols sac fly. We're through 1, knotted at 1. Who's saying, take me out to the ball game, the best at Wrigley Field? Ozzy Osbourne, Bill Murray, or Jim Belushi? Send us your tweet to @Fox Sports West.
Can't get any better than that.
I guess. I'd go Harry Carey. Is there any better than that?
He's not on the list.
That's a shame. Who creates this list?
I did.
That's a bad list. Without Harry Carey? Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath, by the way, has got a new album coming out.
I'm looking forward to it.
Starlin Castro, a 1-0 count, looks at a strike. Castro, Castillo, and Barney for the Cubs here in the second. 258 average, 3 home runs, 21 runs batted in as he fouls this one back, and it's 1-2. Castro, a two-time All-Star, just 23 years of age, native of the Dominican Republic. A fun player to watch. 283 last year, 14 home runs, 78 RBIs, 25 stolen bases as well. 1-2, chopper toward the middle. Ibar to his left has it. And one shortstop retires another. One away.
Like Ibar had a little difficult time getting out of the glove, and Castro runs well. Very close play.
Wellington Castillo will step to the plate. Catcher tonight for Dale Swain. 266 with a home run and 10 runs batted in. Got into 52 games last year with the Cubs. One ball, no strikes. Mentioned the Angels will play 2 games here, then 2 at Wrigley Field. It's July 9th and 10th. This one rolled down the line, backhanded by Callasco. And with the pant legs pulled up.
Better throw.
Much better throw. I think it has everything to do with the pant legs. Hey, folks, groups of 20 or more can enjoy Angel games in the Trout Farm, presented by Smile Generation. Groups sitting in this section will receive an exclusive Trout Farm shirt with their purchase. For more info and to purchase tickets, just log on at angels.com/groups. 2 up and 2 down for Weaver here in the second. And it's Darwin Barney, the second baseman, coming up. Barney will look at a strike.
Part of that very good middle infield for Chicago.
A very sure-handed middle infield. Barney swung the bat well in his rookie season of 2011. Numbers have kind of dipped down a little bit. You see the overall average this year, 214. A couple of home runs, 8 runs batted in. 42nd game for him. 276 during that rookie campaign.
I almost envision him being a number 2 hitter in the lineup, but more of a situational hitter.
Yeah.
Gets the bunt down, put runners in motion.
Lifts this one out to the shortstop area. Eric Ibar and Howie Kendrick, and Eric Ibar takes charge and makes the catch. A 1-2-3 inning for Jared Weaver. We'll head to the bottom of the second, 9-1. Kendrick, Alberto Callaspo, and Chris Sinetta here against Scott Feldman. We take a look at our Kia standings. The National League Central, you see the Cubs where they sit right now. The Cardinals at 38-19, leading the Reds by 3 games. And the Pirates, 3.5 back. The Pirates' biggest issue of late has been finishing off what they started. Angels see the Pirates here as well. That's how he looks at his strike.
Maybe even try to add on some players at the trade deadline the last couple of years, but it hasn't stopped the slide in the second half.
Pirates will be here June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
Key against them right now, make sure you get an early lead because their bullpen has been lights out.
Yeah, no Jason Grilli. No Grilli cheese 49.
No, avoid that.
Yeah.
At all costs.
Now we're hitting 297, 7 home runs, 29 runs batted in. 1 for 4 yesterday with a single. Bouncer back up the middle. That's a leadoff single for Howard Kendrick.
Howie now 6 for 16 against Feldman. No reason for no movement here either, especially with Howie, who's got 5 stolen bases. Callaspo can handle the bat. Not be surprised to see Mike Scioscia put something on early again in this count.
Callaspo hitting 254 with 3 home runs and 18 runs batted in. 1 for 4 game yesterday. Had a 2-out double in the 9th inning.
Long throwing motion for Feldman over the first base. 0 pickoffs throughout his career so far. 95 stolen bases total against him in his career in 127 attempts.
Off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. I credit Scott Feldman in that first inning because he made 3 quality pitches in 3 hitters counts to get Pujols, Trumbo, and Hamilton. Pujols at least got the sac fly that tied the game up. Trumbo fly to left, and then Hamilton had his bat sawed off, pop up to Castro. Kendrick takes off, bouncer toward the middle, bounces off the mound right to Castro. And there is the first out of the inning. Kendrick ends up in scoring position.
Good decision to have that hit and run. Otherwise, that's a potential double play ball. And another base runner in scoring position for the Angels here early in the game.
Chris Sinetta comes up now, man in scoring position. Got the start behind the plate yesterday, went 0 for 3. That one caught the corner for a strike.
Well, with his fastball, Feldman does a good job as far as pitching away, then throwing the fastball, and he uses both sides of the plate with his fastball. Not necessarily overpowering, but he's got good movement, and he cuts the fastball well.
Feldman saying Kendrick take that little extra hop there as he was set, deciding to step off. Barney trying to keep Kendrick close to the bag. 1 out here in the second, tied at 1. Oh, 1 pitch way outside. This play by Castillo as that ball kept cutting away from him.
The whole side of the infield will be open up for Iannetta, who hits the ball when he's on his game. You'll see that when he came back, that swing came back for him in Dodger Stadium, his last at bat. It's Ryu started hitting the ball well the other way.
J.B. Shuck is on deck. Kendrick takes off. The pitch is outside to throw to third, and out of time. Looks like the throw beat him, but the tag by Valbuena maybe a little tardy.
More of a sweep tag. Castillo throws the ball well. He's thrown out over 27% of would-be base stealers. Pretty good jump, too, but that's a quick catch and throw. Better angle right here. Look, he got him.
Yeah. So I'm saying the throw looked like it beat him, at least from our vantage point. Even on the foul side of the bag. It'll force the Cubs to bring their infield in. 2 balls and a strike on Iannetta. Just missing low. Feldman wanted that one, 3-1.
Early in the game, you think, why you bring your infield in? But it's a product of Jerry Weaver being on the hill going against you, knowing you might not get many opportunities to score.
Now the 3-1 pitch, and he walked him. So J.B. Shuck will come up now.
It's a 33rd walk this year for Iannetta.
And yes, that easily leads the Angels. Second on the list, Mike Trout at 27.
That's the thing now. They're bringing the middle infielders back in double play depth. Shuck runs very well. It'd be difficult to do so.
Valbuena playing at the cut of the grass at third base. First one from Feldman is a breaking ball. Missing. No, cut the inside corner. A bit of a delayed call there by Jim Joyce. Those 33 walks now for Iannetta, too, by the way. Put him among American League leaders. Prince Fielder at the start of the day at 35 to lead the American League. Tied at 1 here in the second. Kendrick standing at third base. Iannetta at first. Snap throw back to first base, and they easily got it. In a situation where you cannot get picked off, Chris Iannetta just got picked off for the second out.
Yeah, he tried to get into a secondary lead. As mentioned, Castillo's got a strong throwing arm. Too much of a lead, and Rizzo right there to be able to apply the tag.
What a great throw, especially with a left-handed batter up.
So often we've seen that over the years with the Angels, with a left-handed batter up, the back pick. Very difficult for a base runner to see that.
Breaking pitch in the dirt, blocked by Castillo. Did not go around. 2 balls and 1 strike. Kendrick leading off his second inning with a base hit. The second on the ground out by Callaspo, stole third, where he remains. 2-1 count on Shuck. Top of the order, Nybar on deck. Little dribbler back toward the mound. Feldman's got it. And this inning comes to an end. It looked to be a promising inning. Angels get nothing out of it. 2 complete. Still tied at 1.
plate. And here's tonight's Coors Light Cold Hard Fact. Jared Weaver dominant at home. Last 42 home starts, 24-7 with an ERA 1.99. Two or fewer runs, earned runs 32 times. Those last 42 home starts for Weave. The Cold Hard Fact is brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. 53-20 overall career mark for Weaver here at the Big A.
Facing the top of the order here for the Cubs, DeJesus, Valbuena, and Rizzo. DeJesus a fly ball to right field, his first time up. Breaking pitch is in there. Evens the count at 1-1. Cubs at home this year as a team have hit .269, on the road .222. Off the end of the bat towards Callaspo. Good changeup, and Callaspo bobbles it off.
Boy, changeup, DeJesus out in front, slow roll over to Callaspo and unable to make the play. Took his eye off the baseball before it got in the glove, looking up to see where DeJesus was. He had time. DeJesus couldn't get out of the batter's box because he was fooled on that changeup from Weaver.
And now you've got to deal with DeJesus over at first base, decent speed. Valbuena the batter, hit by a pitch in the first inning.
You have 3 stolen bases for DeJesus. With Valbuena up, an opportunity for Dale Sweeney to put a hit and run on himself.
Off speed pitch missing away. 1 ball, no strikes. Valbuena came around to score after he was hit by a pitch. With 2 strikes, a hard breaking ball that got him on the back leg. Scored into single by Shearholz with 2 outs. An error by Callaspo, his 5th on the year. Got that changeup working so far.
Great arm action with his changeup tonight.
This one's popped up right side of the infield. Howie Kendrick is there. Put away. David Jesus picked it up immediately. Able to get back to first base. So 1 out now. Rizzo coming to the plate.
We thought with that combination would be a good opportunity for Dale Sweeney to put a hit and run on.
Yeah.
And your job as a hitter is to hit the ball on the ground, not in the air. And, well, Buena pops it up. That brings up a very good hitter in Anthony Rizzo.
Rizzo has been struggling. As a matter of fact, mired in a 0 for 23 skid, but over the last 9 games, including this one tonight, now 10 for his last 31. Takes outside. It's 1 ball, no strikes. And a base hit off the end of the bat between Ibar and Callaspo. He's 1 for 1. Proud owner of a 7-year, $41 million deal that he signed with the Chicago Cubs in May. Locking up the young talent. Originally in the Red Sox system. 2 balls and no strikes.
Still fastball command not quite there for Weaver. Changeup command excellent. Curveball's been good. Slider went ahead of the count. Been his pitch he can get a swing and miss with.
A 3 ball, no strike count with Soriano on deck. 45 pitches thrown by Weaver, and not the splits that you'd accustomed to seeing. 25 strikes, 20 balls. That missed outside. First walk issued by Weaver. We'll put a couple of men on with one out here to third. Soriano now stepping up.
This four-seam fastball just off the outside corner. One thing about Weaver, smart pitcher, you don't necessarily have to give in. When you fall behind in the count, you don't want to groove a fastball that will hit her like Rizzo, who has all that extra base power in his swing. 29 extra base hits on the season. You don't want to just give in. Trust you can get a ground ball from Soriano, maybe get a double play, get through the inning.
Pickoff attempt at second. Getting the hand back in. There's De Jesus. Weaver with a couple of strikeouts, now one walk, one hit batter. 2 hits in the first. Soriano a strikeout victim in the first. He's 0 for 1. Ayaspa deep at third. Here's the first one. Down and away. Remember the 40-40 club back in 2006.
Along with Canseco, Barry Bonds, and Alex Rodriguez. Did Mickey Mantle say that at one point? As if I thought it meant something, I would have did it every year.
Exactly.
The Mick.
There's only certain guys that can say stuff like that,
Yeah.
get away with it.
But the Mick could.
Yeah, Mick could. 1-0 pitch. Outside. 2 balls and no strikes. Command an issue for Weaver here tonight. Ibar 9 going to go out and talk things over. But again, I asked you at the top of the first inning if that extra day of rest, that 6-man rotation has an effect on someone like Weaver. You know, sometimes you hear that sinker ballers, you don't want that because then they're too strong and they can't get the ball to move the way they would like.
I never liked an extra day just because starting pitchers are all about routine. They have their set programs put together. You know, the day after they pitch a game, they'll do their running and their lifting. That following day, they'll have their bullpen session. Day after that, same thing with your lifting and running. Then, you know, you casually get into your start, preparing for your start that next time out.
2-0 pitch. Soriano swings through it. 2-1. Soriano, a guy with good power. You got to be careful with him. 20 or more home runs in 11 straight seasons for him.
Yeah, remember that conversation like we talked earlier about Weaver when we talked about the 6-man rotation. He says, well, it sure beats the 4-man rotation. Yeah. That was the only explanation he said.
This one hooked into left field. That's a base hit. Shock over to cut it off. But De Jesus is going to come in to score. And the Cubs are back on top 2-1. Soriano picks up his 24th RBI.
Hanging breaking pitch right there. We haven't seen him do that too much. Coming back right down the heart of the plate. A couple of those pitches that were out of the zone. The third one at the top part of the strike zone, outside corner. That one right down the middle of the plate. His slider's been very good in his 2 starts coming back from the DL, but that one stayed out over the plate.
Fastball in for a strike. Nate Shearholz. And an RBI single in the first inning. Rizzo standing at second, Soriano at first. 1 ball, 1 strike. Good off speed. 1-2.
I'd be surprised he came back with another off-speed pitch. Right back with a changeup.
Missed inside. Another left-handed batter on deck, and Ryan Sweeney. 2-2 now. Cheerholz lines one to right. It's going to hang up for Hamilton. 2 outs. Rizzo back to second base. Sweeney will step up now.
Mislocation again with the fastball from Weaver. He's trying to muscle up on this fastball to make sure he gets it to the spot he wants to throw it. That is no seam fastball, trying to create movement, trying to bring it back in the inside corner. Best fastball so far in this game, 88 miles an hour. Slowest pitch, a 69 mile an hour curveball. So pretty good differential. But the last game out we saw 90-91 from the fastball from Weaver.
Off speed, off the end of the bat to the alley in right center field, and that falls in for a hit. Rizzo will come in to score. 3-1 Chicago. Sweeney with his 4th RBI as a Cub.
Way off the end of the bat, but well placed into the outfield. Another slow curveball, but Sweeney flares it in for a base hit. Both these runs going to be unearned in this inning against Weaver.
Inning started with the error by Alberto Callaspo on what should have been the first out of the inning. Starlin Castro the batter. The shortstop swings first pitch, pops one up. Left side of the infield, Eric Ibar comes in. Now backpedals and makes the circus catch to end the inning. But the Cubs strike for 2. They do it on 1 hit. Pardon me, 2 hits and 1 big error. 3-1 Chicago as we head to the bottom of the 3rd. The Angels have the top of the order coming up against Scott Feldman. Ryan Sweeney with an RBI single. Alfonso Soriano also had one himself. And it's not as if they're hitting missiles off of Jared Weaver, but his command has been off, and he's putting Cubs hitters in hitters counts. And they've taken advantage of it. Also, the error by Callaspo. Ibar trouted Pujols here in the 3rd against Feldman. Angels have had opportunities to tack on not only in the 1st but also in the 2nd. A big pickoff at first base by Chris Iannetta with 1 out. Another base running mistake by the Angels this year.
Let's see Ibar try to drag a bunt here.
Thought about it. Looks at a breaking pitch for a strike.
So if he could bring that to the right side of the infield, he's going to have a good chance of beating that one out.
Eric had a double his first time up, came around to score the lone Angels run. 1 ball, 1 strike. Peter Borges, by the way, still on a rehab assignment. Played Inland Empire, a couple more games, then head up to AAA Salt Lake, play a couple games up there. This one's looped out to left. Sweeney is playing shallow, moves over to his right. 1 away.
Stick around for our Carl's Jr. Sports Update coming up later in the game. These headlines: can Dominic go yard for the Fightins again? He's been swinging the bat, finally living up to that potential for the Phillies. 17 home runs this year, leading the National League. And Motor City Mowdown. Great pitching matchup. Matt Moore versus Anibal Sanchez. So you got the best of that one tonight.
Can't wait.
I'm sure you're excited.
To no end. Mike Trout with an infield base hit and a stolen base in the first inning. 1 for 1. Feldman with no strikeouts, 1 walk, 3 hits allowed. This will be his 36th pitch. And that is out toward right center field. De Jesus breaking in. That has to break back. Moving to his left, makes a catch. 2 outs.
Take a look back at last year's compared to this season for Albert Pujols. See if there's any big difference. Definitely not much of a stride on the left side from last year. The hands are different, but this season, much more of a stride, bigger leg kick, out in front. Hands are different too this season. That's what I think is the big reason why Pujols hasn't been as consistent this year as far as getting the bat through, especially on that inside part of the plate that we saw earlier in the game. He got jammed on, so a lot more movement, especially in the leg, for Pujols.
Sacrifice fly for him in the first inning. Takes a strike. 33 RBIs now for Albert. How much do the injuries do you think have to play in the change of the stance and the working of the bottom half?
Well, I think the bottom line is when you've had some injuries, you're trying to force to be able to create the bat speed. If you're Pujols, in the past when he was very, very good, not much of a leg kick at all. Hands were a little bit different, but because of the leg issues and trying not to, he doesn't have quite the strength in the lower part of his body, he has to create more of a swing to be able to make more consistent contact. Hands are up higher, bigger stride, trying to get the hands through the baseball and create that power.
One ball, 2 strikes. 2 outs, bases clear. The Angels down 3-1. And he chases the breaking ball. Down he goes. The inning comes to an end. A shutdown inning for Feldman. We've played 3 and the Cubs still on top.
3-1 here in the top of the fourth. Wellington Castillo leading off against Jared Weaver. Trying to have a quick inning at last inning, a tough one. Didn't necessarily get hit hard, but a couple runs scored against him.
The first one is in for a strike on Wellington Castro, the catcher. 8-9-1. Castillo, Barney, and De Jesus. Down and away. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Castillo grounded out to Callaspo in the second inning. 0 for 1. This one down the line. Nice play by Alberto across the diamond. Low throw. Dug out by Pujols. 1 away.
Very difficult play. A nice play by Callaspo. Good pick by Pujols over at first base. 2-time Gold Glove winner at first. On the backhand, tough hop also. Spin around, long throw. Pujols picks him up. That pick at first. See how difficult of a hop, but he kept his eye on the baseball, into the glove this time around, and a strong throw over to get Castillo for the first out of the inning.
Darwin Barney steps in, the second baseman. And he takes upstairs. 1 ball, no strikes. Barney popped out to Ibar to end the second, the only inning in which Weaver's had a 1-2-3 frame. Barney growing up in Oregon and playing at Oregon State. Makes this one foul and out of play on the first base side.
It's been a pretty successful baseball program over the last decade or so.
Mentioned Barney being a slick infielder, Gold Glove winner last year.
Those super regionals taking off again in college baseball. UCLA on another one of those runs again.
Yeah.
Cal State Fullerton.
Off speed, in the air to left. JB shot back a couple of steps. 2 outs. Back to the top of the order we go here in the fourth. And David De Jesus, the center fielder, coming up. 0 for 2 tonight with a fly to right. He reached down the air by Callaspo to lead off the third. Scored 1 of the 2 runs. De Jesus is one of those guys, as we talked about with Billy Butler with the Royals, always seemed to hurt the Angels. First one is a strike.
And not necessarily known for his power, but 6 career home runs against the Angels.
Yep.
A couple off of Weaver.
Hit .318 his last year with Kansas City in 2010. You almost forget that he played with the Oakland A's for 1 season in 2011. Did he go around? He did. 0-2. Just .240 with Oakland. Slightly different ballpark than anywhere else. Although Kansas City is somewhat of a spacious ballpark, but nothing like Oakland.
Especially those cold nights playing there at home.
0-2 pitch. Way out in front, just got a piece of it.
Hard slider down and in.
Another 0-2 from Weaver. Upstairs, 1 ball, 2 strikes. 68th pitch of the night.
But generally, when you go upstairs with a high fastball, you're going to follow it up with a curveball because it comes in that same plane.
Just got a piece of that one. Another off-speed pitch. And the count remains at 1 ball, 2 strikes. De Jesus came into this season as a career .281 hitter. Signing with the Cubs in November of 2011. Fastball got him looking on the outside corner. 1-2-3 inning for Weaver's third strikeout of the ball game. We'll head to the bottom of the fourth. 3-1 Cubs.
UVerse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PIC-ATT. Rethink possible. By CarMax. Start the search for your next car at CarMax. CarMax. Start here. And by your Southern California Toyota dealers.
Antelope's down by the score of 3-1 as we start the bottom of the fourth inning. Mark Trumbo set to lead things off on a gorgeous night here at the Big A. The Angels trying to snap their 4-game losing streak. Trumbo, Hamilton, and Kendrick trying to figure out Scott Feldman at a 1-2-3 third.
And our most home runs in the American League since April 29th. Mark Trumbo third behind Chris Davis and that other guy, Miguel Cabrera. 14 home runs for Miggy as he continues to put out unbelievable numbers. Chris Davis too, though.
Yeah. Trumbo hit a fly ball to left field in the first inning. Sawed off by Feldman. In the 2-0 count. 3 runs, 4 hits, 4 left on for the Cubs. 1 run, 3 hits, an error, and 2 left on for the Angels so far. That's a strike on the corner. It's 0-2. Trumbo asking Jim Joyce where that was at.
A hard cut fastball.
Outside, 1-2.
Feldman has given up 7 home runs this year. 3 to left-handed batters and 4 to right-handed batters.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Feldman just 44 pitches, 1 strikeout, 1 walk. 3 hits allowed, 2 in the first and 1 in the second. Breaking pitch, rolled over to short. Castro has it. 1 out. Feldman has retired 5 straight batters since the walk Iannetta.
Just like we were talking about it. Pujols, look at the difference in the stride here too, as far as getting through that front hip. You can see right here, last year with Texas, but this year the bigger gap as far as the hips opening up going through the baseball for Hamilton. That's why he's pulling off the baseball more often this year than he did last year. Two big guys in this lineup. Both Pujols and Hamilton have struggled at times maintaining their consistent swings. That's why the numbers are down this year.
Feldman falls behind at 1 ball, no strikes. He fell behind on Hamilton in the first inning at 2 balls and no strikes before breaking his bat. Hamilton, a little soft liner to the shortstop Castro. Josh is 0 for 1. Castro hitting him toward the middle. It's 2 balls and no strikes.
Boy, and hitting's become such a science. It really started with Tony Gwynn looking at the video almost after every swing he had, which was good or bad. And all the hitters now try to get back to their comfort zone where they've had success, trying to emulate what they've done in the past.
Came right back inside on a 2-0 count, just like he did the first time around.
You have to have a lot of guts to go inside with the fastball when you're behind the count as a pitcher 2-0. You have to have a good feel for your pitch. If you miss going in, that ball's out of the ballpark. So you had to have confidence to do so.
2-1 pitch. 2-2. High fastball.
Boy, and when most hitters are struggling, they're trying to create bat speed and get their hands going quicker. I remember over the years talking with George Brett when he would go into one of his slumps in Kansas City. It was all about trying to get your hands out quicker, but in reality, that's when you step back as a hitter and you say, I'm just going to let the baseball travel a little deeper, just have a good, quiet, smooth swing, and make contact from that point forward.
Here's the 3-2. Hamilton rolls this one over to second base. Darwin Barney has it. 2 outs. Take a look at the umpires for tonight. Jim Joyce, the veteran, is behind the plate. Corey Blazer over at first base. Jeff Nelson at second, and Ed Hickox over at third. So since the walk to Chris Iannetta, that put runners at first and third, and 1 out after that pickoff. 6 up, 6 down. Howard Kendrick steps in with 2 outs. He had a leadoff single in the second and went back up the middle. Eventually stranded at third base. Halo's 1 for 4 tonight with men in scoring position. Howie fouls it off to the right.
Feldman got away with that cut fastball, and Howie just a little bit late on it. His reaction, he's walking off the back of the mound, knowing he got away with the pitch there.
Oh, 2 pitch. This one down the right field line, but tailing toward the seats. Count remains at 0-2. Looks like they want to come back inside. It is upstairs. 1-2.
Not necessarily velocity for Feldman, but his location has been good. He goes upstairs when he goes inside. Both lefties and righties. We saw it against Hamilton and right there against Howie Kendrick.
Two and two now. Take the pitch in the dirt. The Angels, with that 4-game sweep at the hands of the Astros, now find themselves at 14-17 here at home. They've hit well overall here at home, although last 4 games and now even the early parts of this one has not been the case. 275 batting average here at the Big A. 240 on the road as Howie shoots it over the head of Rizzo and down the line. Cut off by Shearholz. Howie will stop at first with a 2-out single.
That's a good hitting right there. It's a very difficult pitch to go inside out for Howie. second hit of the game. High fastball through the baseball and the other way. He's able to get through the baseball. Fastball is even elevated against Kendrick. Can be productive as far as hitting the other way.
Cayaspo for one. He grounded to short of the second inning. 3-1 Cubs as we play here in the bottom of the fourth. Angels with 2 stolen bases tonight. Trout at second in the first inning. Kendrick at third in the second.
Cayaspo pulled off on that changeup. That last 11 games for Cayaspo. He's had a tough time making good contact. 152, pulling off a lot of pitches. We've seen pitchers go upstairs with fastballs too. Cayaspo unable to make contact.
Snap throw to first, and Kendrick back easily. This just in. Castillo's got a good arm.
And his arm angle he throws is a perfect throw to first base too.
And pay attention.
Barely got in before that tag was applied by Rizzo.
Ball on a strike on Alberto. 2 outs. Kendrick at first. The 1-1. They wanted to appeal, and Hickok says he did not go. 2-1 down. Off speed pitch, caught the outside corner. 2-2.
You gotta believe he's going to throw Cayaspo something off speed, a curveball here.
Kendrick goes, slow roller over to Alfredo Griffin. So Howie will head back to first base. Cayaspo will face another 2-ball, 2-strike count. Howie doesn't go, and Cayaspo fouls it off, and Alberto still just pulling off the baseball.
You know, when Cayaspo was going well, he's staying back, letting his hands go through the zone. But when he's struggling, the hips open up and the bat is pulled forward and unable to make good contact with the swing.
Inside. Full count now. Howie will be off of the pitch. Inetta's on deck.
Fastball there. 90-mile-an-hour from Feldman against Cayaspo. Still would be surprised, even with a 3-2 count, that he wouldn't throw him a curveball here. So important for Cayaspo to stay back and trust his hands.
Rizzo playing behind Kendrick. Howie takes off, and this one rolled over to second. Marvin Barney's there. 3 ground ball outs for Scott Feldman. The Angels leave a man on base. 4 in the books. 3-1 Cubs.
AT&T U-version rewind. We often talk about different variation of a circle changeup. Right here, we showed it last night, the grip, but slightly different for Jarrett Weaver as far as the circle changeup and through the baseball. Similar type of reaction out of the baseball. Takes about 8 to 10 miles per hour off the speed. But Weaver's slightly different. Instead of the OK changeup, circle change to blend the thumb underneath the baseball. Similar type of result for Jarrett Weaver. So many different grips as far as a changeup, especially for youngsters. You're watching the game. It's all about the comfort of the grip for a changeup. You can have the split finger fastball. You can have the palm ball off the end of the fingertips. Different variations, but you have to think, throw fastball, and the grip will take the speed off.
Command has been the biggest issue for Weaver tonight. The difference in this ball game, however, 2 unearned runs, both coming in the third inning. Cubs setting up 2, 3, and 4 here in the fifth. Albuena on a 2-0 count pops one up on the left side. Callaspo and Ibar. Roberto Callaspo making the one-handed grab to his side for the first out. Is there anything wrong with catching a pop-up with 2 hands? Just in case.
That way, in case it pops out of your glove, your hand, your bare hand is there to protect you and be able to keep that ball in the glove.
But the out is recorded. Here's Anthony Rizzo, first baseman. Single and a walk. He's also scored a run. He pops one up.
See if it goes with 2 hands here.
Into foul territory. One hand, it's effective. 2 down. Hey fans, on June the 18th, the Angels take on the Seattle Mariners at 7:05. Fans in attendance will receive the Mike Trout Fish Hat, courtesy of freecreditscore.com. While supplies last, purchase your tickets today at the Angels Stadium ticket office or by logging on at angels.com. Seriously, just look at the resemblance.
It's unbelievable. I can't wait for that giveaway.
It's unbelievable.
It is. It's unreal.
I think we might be taking a couple of those to Boston and to Baltimore.
I'm hoping. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Be a good look. Soriano takes inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
You know how we're always loved when we go to Boston anyhow, especially that's where we wore a wrestling mask a couple of years ago.
1 ball, 1 strike now. There it is.
Yep. That got us through that game at 2:30 in the morning.
Nacho Libre.
Yes.
It worked. Bobby Abreu.
Yes, it does.
The hero. Swinging a miss, 1 and 2. Base hit to right field. I'll never forget it.
I remember couldn't even see anything going out with those masks on too. They were very comfortable.
Oh, and the smell.
Yes.
The glue on that was incredible.
So I'm looking forward to the fish hat.
Wow.
In Boston.
Can't wait. 1-2 pitch. And Soriano pulls one. That's a fair ball inside the bag on that changeup. Soriano's heading to second base. And he is in there with a 2-out double.
And that's one of those products where Soriano was out in front, but he kept the bat back long enough to make the adjustment. Even though he was fooled, he was still able to keep his hands back through the zone and hit that ball down the line. Hips were open, fooled, but still kept the bat back and hooked it down the third base line.
Second hit of the night for Soriano, his 13th double.
It's not easy to do, especially when you're fooled on that pitch, that speed of the pitch. Your hips are already gone, but he kept his hands back.
There's Shearholtz, the right fielder. Fouls one off to the left. Shearholtz 1 for 2, an RBI single in the first and the fly to right in the third. Former second-round pick of the San Francisco Giants back in 2003. And Soriano in scoring position. 3-1 Cubs here in the fifth. Pulled foul. Weaver about to throw his 81st pitch of the night. 49 have been strikes.
Wonderful try to go upstairs with the fastball, though. Shearholtz, his first at bat got jammed, but that fastball ran out over the plate. Wasn't quite as elevated as Weaver wanted to throw it.
And he got him with the elevated fastball. Down goes Shearholz. Third out of the inning is in the books. We'll head to the bottom of the fifth. 8-9-1. 2 up for the Angels. Halos trailing it by 2.
Summary, Jared Weaver on the hill. Early on, hard slider gets Soriano swinging. Another hard slider down and in. But then the Cubs took advantage of some flares into the field, worked some bloopers, a couple hits, take the lead against Weaver 3-1. A couple of unearned runs against Jared Weaver. But overall, Weaver has settled down and thrown the ball well the last couple of innings.
81 pitches, 5 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. Chris Iannetta, followed by J.B. Shuck, then Eric Ibar. Iannetta was a 1-ball, 1 strike count. He drew a walk in the second inning, the only free pass that Feldman has issued. Chris later picked off by the catcher, Wellington Castillo at first base. One and two.
Jim Joyce has been calling that pitch on that outside part of the plate.
And you can hear it too.
Yep.
Iannetta tried to hold up, and he did. Bouncer foul on the third base side. Feldman's really moved the baseball back and forth, in and out on both sides of the plate.
TJ made that play with his hat again.
Got that going for him. Another 2-2. Breaking pitch, missed it.
It looked like Jim Joyce flinched a little bit. Thought about calling it, but it looked like it was too high, crossing the zone.
And Castillo was setting up in a little bit, or away, I should say, and that ball was a little bit in. There's the 3-2. That's driven out towards center field. DeJesus got a good jump on it. Makes the catch. Went away. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Los Angeles Angels and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of Angels Baseball LP. So 1 out, nobody on for J.B. Shuck. A little bouncer back to the mound, his first time up. Three quality pitches by Feldman to 3 batters in the first inning, limiting the Angels scoring to 1 run, and then base running mistake. Chris Iannetta killing a potential rally. First and third, 1 out situation with Shuck at the plate.
Well, he hasn't thrown many pitches in the middle part of the plate. He's on the corners with his fastball and on the corners with his curveball.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Well, you can see right now, you looking at a confident pitcher, not wasting any time. The feel for all his pitches right now.
Bouncer foul. 1 and 2.
You mentioned those pitches he made in the first inning. That's the time when you're still trying to get a feel for your pitches, and as a hitter, you try to take advantage of that. Especially in a lot of hitters' counts in that inning. For Hamilton, Trumbo, and Pujols.
Shuck reaches to this one, rolls it foul.
Alfredo getting that fielding percentage up.
Yeah.
Back-to-back plays by Alfredo Griffin.
Feldman came into tonight's game with a 5-4 mark and a 2.82 ERA. The 282 earned run average, not good enough for the top 10 in the National League. Just a little flare down the right field line, but foul.
Coming in the game, opponents only hit .229 against Feldman this year.
.51 strikeouts in 60 2/3 innings coming into tonight. He has 1 punch out tonight, and that was Albert in the third. Ahead of the count at 1 and 2 with 1 out here in the fifth.
He's been throwing strikes. It's 19 walks now, 20 on the season with the 1 walk tonight.
Bouncer back to the mound. 2 outs.
It's the second time Shuck has hit a ground ball back at Feldman.
So Ibar steps up with 2 outs, bases clear. The Angels down 3-1. Derek with a double in the first and a fly ball to left. That came in the third inning. 1 for 2 so far. Cubs with 5 hits. The Angels with 4. Valbuena, the third baseman, in on the grass. Rizzo creeping in a little bit over at first base. It's 1 ball, no strike. See what Feldman manages now. Third time through the order.
Well, when you're throwing strikes, you're avoiding the middle of the plate. It makes it difficult to put together a big inning against them.
Yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden he's got a great feel for his curveball now. Coming in the game, about 16% of his pitches are curveballs. We've seen a lot last few innings, especially seeing the swings he's getting against them out in front.
Two balls and a strike now. However, the 2-out base hit in the fourth inning, keeping Feldman from retiring the side in order consecutive innings. Did so in the third. He's retired the first 2 here in the fifth as Ibar fouls it back. 2-2 now. The Angels and Cubs wrap up this 2-game set tomorrow. Remember, it's a 4 o'clock start here at the Big A. Jason Vargas going up against Matt Garza.
Reigning AL Pitcher of the Month of May, Jason Vargas.
Bouncer back to the mound. The Angels go down in order here in the 5th. 5 in the books, 3-1 Cubs.
Jerry Weaver, not necessarily his best fastball command, but his slider's been sharp. Down and in for a lefty. Down and away, Soriano, changeup, fastball, hitting his spots upstairs to get sure old swing at the end. Last inning, 4 punch-outs in the game for Jerry Weaver so far, just 1 walk.
81 pitches so far for Weaver as we start the 6th inning. Sweeney, Castro, and Castillo for the Cubs against Jared. We tie the side in order in the 4th. Gave up a 2-out double to Alfonso Soriano before striking out Shearholz in the 5th. Sweeney's 1 for 2. A strikeout in the 1st inning, an RBI single in the 3rd.
Some movement down in the Angel bullpen as that pitch count now with 83 pitches thrown, probably keep him around that 95 range tonight.
This one lined out toward left center field. Trout coming on. He'll play it on a hop. Leadoff man is on board for the Cubs to start this 6th inning. We'll go back and take a look at our Hyundai key to the game.
Blurred lines for Weaver. The deception has been there, but his fastball command not quite as sharp. Not necessarily hit hard tonight. There's a couple flares in the outfield, just like that one there from Sweeney. 2 of them actually in this game for Sweeney against Weaver. But just enough of the bat on the baseball to get that ball to the outfield has been the difference in this game for Chicago against Weaver and the Angels.
Starlin Castro looks at his strike. He's 0 for 2 tonight. Ground ball to short and a pop up to short. Hit by Sweeney, the 6th for the Cubs this evening. Check swing foul, 0-2.
You don't see that too often, getting jammed or late on an 86-mile-an-hour fastball, but the hitters have to respect the curveball and changeup from Weaver as the bullpen gets going. Michael Kahn and Scott Downs get loose as that pitch count mounts for Weaver.
Check swing did not go. Corey Blazer with a call at first base. 1-2 now. 88th pitch of the night. He's battled through it. At least he's attempted to do so. 3 runs, 1 earned, 2 unearned runs in the 3rd inning. Nobody out here the 6th inning and a man on. That's Sweeney at first base. 2-2. Reaching for that breaking ball.
Castro's rolled into 6 double plays. Weaver could use this now to be able to stay in this game with that pitch count getting closer to that 90 mark. Next pitch will be 90, then work its way to 95 or so tonight.
Popped him up. Iannetta behind the plate. Makes the catch, 1 away. So Wellington Castillo will step up now. Twice has grounded to 3rd. Last time, leading off the 4th inning. Castle making a nice play on it. On the backhand side. Pujols digging the ball out of the dirt. Cubs are 6th, by the way, just in case you're wondering, with Sweeney at first base and stolen bases, 32 bags on the year. Sweeney has some speed. He's been known as a base stealer. Castillo looks at his strike.
It's always surprising he doesn't run more often.
Yeah.
No stolen bases this year. Remember, over the years, though, he's grounded in a lot of double plays. He runs well down the line.
Good changeup. 0-2. Castillo, 26 years of age, native of the Dominican Republic. Gianna Navarro, their other catcher, a 3-homer game just a couple of days ago. 1-2 now. Weaver in his first start off the disabled list against the Dodgers went 86 pitches in his 6 innings.
93 right now. 58 strikes. 35 out of the zone.
Swing and a miss. Johnny goes 2 down. Strikeout number 5.
The slow pitch. The pitch before goes upstairs with a fastball. It's Castillo swinging.
It's a 2-out. Sweeney still at first base. Darwin Barney, the batter. He's the second baseman. 0 for 2. Popped to short. A fly ball to left. 3-1 Cubs here in the 6th. And Barney lifts one out to right center field. Mike Trout and Josh Hamilton. It's Hamilton with a call and the catch. The inning comes to an end as Weaver gives up the leadoff single. And he's stranded at first. The Angels have 2, 3, and 4 coming up as we get to the bottom of the 6th. Down by 2.
Big part of the order for the Angels coming up here against Scott Feldman. Let's go check out our Carl's Jr. sports update around Major League Baseball. Can Dominic go yard for the Fightins again? Did not go yard, but John Mayberry did. A walk-off grand slam in the 11th for the Fightin' Phils. In the Motor City Mowdown, Matt Moore versus Anibal Sanchez. Sanchez got the better of that duel, going 7 innings, just 1 earned run allowed, 9 punch-outs. He continues to rack up the strikeouts for the Tigers.
He has been solid. Trout takes a breaking ball down and away.
Speaking of changeups, he has an outstanding changeup.
Yeah.
Sanchez, one of the best fastballs, but a combination of his changeup fastball makes him very difficult to hit.
On the corner for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mike Trout, Albert Pujols, Mark Trumbo here in the 6th inning against Scott Feldman. Was 1 strikeout, 1 walk, 4 hits allowed. Trout has one of those hits. It was an infield hit. He's 1 for 2. One
Again,
ball, 2
coming
strikes.
back inside with a fastball, confident with that 90-mile-an-hour fastball inside. Trusting movement.
Yeah.
Starts it on the corner and realizing it's not going to stay on the corner. It can run it on the hands of a right-handed batter.
Want to come back inside with a 1-2. This one's in the air to right. Shearholz moving over. 1 out.
Pretty good numbers. 5 1/3. 4 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 1 K. Well, he's been dealing 8 of his last 9 starts, 2 or fewer earned runs. And a lot of ground ball outs and pitching inside very effectively against right-handed batters and lefties with this cut fastball.
First one to Albert, misses in. Pujols 0 for 1. Sac fly with an RBI in the 1st inning, a strikeout in the 3rd. The only punch out that Feldman has recorded. Bouncer back to the mound, knocked down by Feldman. 2 outs. Wonder where that got him. Folks, this Father's Day weekend, the Angels welcome the New York Yankees to the Big A for a 3-game series beginning on June 14th with a 7:05 start. Make your plans to be part of this exciting series. Purchase your tickets at the Angels Stadium ticket office or by logging on at angels.com today.
Always fun when the Yankees come to town. They're able to hold on and win another game against Cleveland 4-3 tonight.
First one to Trumbo is on the corner.
Tell you what, over the last 3-4 innings, Feldman's done a nice job of changing his patterns.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of guys shaking their heads at the plate, but Jim Joyce is not veered. I mean, it's been a strike the entire game. Scott Downs gets ready. Trumbo's 0 for 2 with a fly ball to left and a ground ball to short.
Castilla's done a very good job as far as framing pitches, calling a good game. A lot of times when a catcher's feeling comfortable, he's looking at the feet of a hitter, seeing exactly where they're looking for a pitch, and he's pitching against that.
One and two. And whereas Feldman was falling behind early, 2-0, 2-1 counts for a lot of Angel hitters. Been pitching ahead lately.
Again, he's avoided the middle of the plate since that first inning. Both sides have played with his fastball, his curveball split. And when you don't walk anybody and you avoid the middle of the plate, you're going to have some good results. Even if you're not necessarily overpowering, his fastball has been really settling around 90-91 range. Cut fastball 87.
2-2. Feldman thought he had it. full count now with Hamilton on deck. 3-1, Cubs on top. These two teams exchanging runs in the first inning, and then the Cubs getting 2 unearned runs in the third.
Third full count of the game for Feldman.
There's the payoff pitch. Trumbo chops it over to second. Barney has it. The Angels go down in order here in the sixth. 6 in the books. 3-1 Cubs still. Visit your Southern California Kia retailers or MySoCalKia.com. And by Jack in the Box, where the Chipotle Chicken Club combo is back for a limited time. Top of the 7th here at Angel Stadium, 3-1 Cubs. Jared Weaver no longer in the ballgame. 6 innings for him, 6 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. And our in and out, who's in, who's out. Weaver is done, and it's Scott Downs on in relief with the top of the order coming up for the Cubs with DeJesus, Valbuena, and Rizzo.
It's up to Scott down to keep this score rate as is. Good pitch in quite some time. May 26th, 0-2 mark with a 2.35 ERA for Scott Downs. That's
3 lefties.
Yeah, just hitting 192 against them this year.
Yep. DeJesus is 0 for 3 tonight. Did reach on the air by Callaspo in the 3rd inning, scoring one of those 2 unearned runs. Not the best of outings for Jared Weaver as far as command was concerned, but fought his way through it.
It's amazing how he's able to do that. Even without his best command, like you said, of his fastball, he's still only 1 earned run in 6 innings for Weaver.
Gave up the leadoff single to Sweeney in the 6th, and then retired the next 3. First time Downs has appeared in the game since May the 26th against the Kansas City Royals. With a 1/3 of an inning in that one. Count even up at 1 ball, 1 strike. Cubs with 3 runs, 6 hits. They've stranded 6. The Angels with 1 run, 4 hits, 1 error, and they've left 3 on base.
He's used some pretty good numbers against Downs. You don't say that too often with a left-handed batter against him. 308 batting average.
Downs the only lefty in the bullpen for Mike Scioscia, with Sean Burnett on the 15-day disabled list. 2-1 pitch. Foul. The bat goes flying into the seats. Souvenir for a Cubs fan.
Scary when that bat goes flying into the stands like that. Not a lot of time to react. That bat going into the stands.
Count even up at 2 balls, 2 strikes. De Jesus, the leadoff man here in the 7th. They tied him up with that fastball in. Down he goes. There's the first out of the 7th inning. Good location underneath the hands.
That's the one thing Scott Downs can do so well is throw a fastball inside and get a swing and miss against a left-handed batter. Most lefties come in, situational lefties against lefties, throw a lot of breaking balls away. But Downs can command his fastball both inside and out.
Luis Valbuena, the batter. He's the third baseman. Valbuena 0 for 2. Was hit by a pitch and scored a run in the first inning, and he's popped out twice since. Two balls, no strikes. Anthony Rizzo on deck. The Angels in the bottom of the 7th have Hamilton, Kendrick, and Callaspo due up. And the Cubs have some action going in the bullpen. Valbuena looks at his strike. Lefty James Russell getting ready. And the way he's warming, so he's coming into the game.
Throwing the ball pretty well. Good ERA. 0.29 for the Cubs this year.
3 balls and a strike now. Feldman at 95 pitches through 6 innings.
Has 1 CG this year, Feldman. Still appears as if he's going to be staying in the game.
Yeah. Strike on the corner. Full count. By the way Russell's working then, it looks like he's just getting his work in. Then he's going to be done for the night, which is kind of odd.
High energy guy.
Yeah.
Like his dad was. Jeff Russell.
Yep.
Great closer.
Valbuena lifts one down the left field line. Callaspo and Ibar giving chase. They will run out of the road. Scott Downs works at a completely different pace than that of Jared Weaver. Rizzo, the left-hand hitting first baseman on deck. 1 out here in the 7th. 3-1 Cubs. Another 3-2. Valbuena fouls it back over the screen. There's Rizzo. A couple of the Cubs have multi-hit games. Soriano with 2 knocks. Sweeney with 2 hits as well. Good little battle between these two. Valbuena, we're seeing him with the Cleveland Indians.
The Cubs have made their hits count in this game. They've manufactured a couple runs, took advantage of a mistake made by Callaspo. Well, we said that too much of late. Houston did the same thing in that 4-game series. Had some good at-bats, not necessarily a ton of hits, but quality at-bats at the right time.
Swing and a miss. Down goes Valbuena. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Scott Downs.
After a long battle, paints the outside corner. Able to make contact. 2 punch outs in this inning for Scott Downs.
Rizzo's 1 for 2. Single in the first, a walk in the third, a pop up in the 5th. Takes a strike at the knees.
Boy, the way his hands are set up, I'd be pretty leery if I'm Scott Downs about throwing a fastball in that inside part of the plate against him. Good idea to stay away. He's hitting 256 against lefties this year with 4 home runs. When his hands are set up the way they're set up, you make a mistake anywhere on that inner part of the plate. If you're a left-handed pitcher, he's going to get a good swing at it.
Yep. One pitch. Big swing and a miss on the off speed. 1-2. Mentioned Rizzo originally in the Boston Red Sox system, 6th round pick in 2007. Traded to the Padres and then picked up in a trade from San Diego. That pitch down and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 23 years of age, grew up in the Fort Lauderdale area. And a year into his professional career, diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. Deal with that. It has been cancer-free since. Full count now.
Well, he's definitely a big part of this Cubs future, though. You mentioned earlier in the game, 29 extra base hits already this year, 2nd in the National League. Behind Carlos Gonzalez with 30.
Soriano on deck. Here's a 3-2 to Rizzo. Bouncer to second. Howie Kendrick is there. Scott Downs has himself a 1-2-3 7th. 7th inning stretch time here at the Big A. The Angels are down 3-1. They'll have Hamilton, Kendrick, and Cayasco coming up. Ball game the best at Wrigley Field. Currently a tie between Ozzy Osbourne and Bill Murray at 39% of the vote. Jim Belushi at 22% of the vote. Seriously, Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, amazing.
Did you even understand a word he said?
Not to this day, ever.
Josh Hamilton is
But he is Iron Man.
Yeah. Against Scott Feldman. First pitch swing comes up empty, and it's an 0-1 count. Hamilton is 0 for 2 with a pop to short and a ground ball to second. 96 pitches thrown by Feldman. 1 strikeout, 1 walk, and just 4 hits allowed. Oh, and 2. Off speed pitch.
Doesn't throw many of those split finger fastballs, but that was very effective. Not a true splitter as far as a lot of depth in the sink action, but the speed differential very good for him.
Another 0-2. Breaking ball in the dirt. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Howie Kendrick on deck. Just off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Through another split finger fastball. 2 in this sequence against Hamilton. Former teammates for 5 years in Texas.
He's retired 7 in a row since the single to Kendrick. This one's ripped down the right field line. That'll go for extra bases. Hamilton is on his way to second. Shearholz plays it cleanly. It's a leadoff double for Josh Hamilton, his 8th double of the year.
Try to go upstairs. Cut fastball. It stayed up. One of the few mistakes that Feldman has made in this game. That cut fastball didn't have much action on it. Became a very hittable pitch, and Hamilton took advantage of it.
First base runner to reach second base for the Angels since the second. Kendrick ended up being stranded at third in that frame.
And Howie's had a couple good at-bats against Feldman already with 2 hits.
Chases the breaking ball, and it's an 0-1 count. The 2 hits for Howie, bouncer up the middle, and then a rocket out to right field. That was in the 4th inning, 2 for 2.
And if you're Howie or any Angel hitter against Feldman here at this point, you got to let that breaking ball go. It hasn't been in the strike zone yet. Look for his fastball. He's probably tiring now. A better chance to square it up.
1 ball, 1 strike. Russell is ready to go in the bullpen if Dale Swain wants to go to the pen. He's been ready to go for a while, since about the 5th. Feldman pretty much lives right around 100 pitches, just north of that. That's inside. 2 balls and a strike, 104 pitches. His last 2 starts. Most he's thrown in a game, 114. That was back on May the 1st. Currently at 104. Hamilton standing at second, a leadoff double for him.
fastball away, and that's the pitch you generally see Howie hit hard to right field. Especially if you take it out of the equation that Feldman at this point has not been able to consistently throw his curveball for a strike. So you look fastball, and he's going to try to stay away. He's not going to go inside necessarily at this point of the game. So look away for the fastball.
Big lead for Hamilton at second. Breaking pitch, line back up the middle. That's a base hit. Hamilton's going to come in to score. And the Angels trail it 3-2. Howie went down, reached for it, picked up a single. Third hit of the ball game, and he's on board with nobody out.
Another nice swing for Howie up the middle approach. And another RBI for Howie Kendrick, 30 on the season. That's a pretty good pitch. They tracked that breaking ball, harder breaking ball, was able to hit it up the middle. It's his 7th game this year Howie's had a 3-hit performance.
Dale Swaim is coming out. You got Alberto Callaspo coming up. Switch hitter. And we mentioned that Feldman pretty much lives right at this pitch total. He will depart. We've got ourselves a pitching change. We are in the 7th. First two have reached for the Angels. Halos down 3-2. Talking to Chris Bosio, the pitching coach of the Chicago Cubs, and he threw the ball exceptionally well. Made a mistake to Hamilton, double down the line, and of course, terrific pitch on Kendrick, and Howie just went down and got it for an RBI single.
He didn't make many mistakes at all during the course of the game. You mentioned just a couple pitches that stayed in the middle of the plate. Other than that, very good.
James Russell, the left-hander, comes on in relief here, 29th game. 1-1 mark, a 1.29 ERA, former 14th round pick by the Cubs back in 2007. The son of Jeff Russell, the former closer, longtime Texas Ranger. And Alberto Callaspo will step up. Valbuena, the third baseman's in on the grass. Rizzo holding Kendrick on at first.
And Russell fastball 87-92, cut fastball, a lot of sliders. 46% of his pitches sliders, curve, changeup.
Throw to first. Now easily back. 21 innings this year for Russell. 13 hits, 20 strikeouts, 6 walks, and opponents hitting 178 against him.
That throw to the first base was by design to see if Callaspo would square around the bunt. And clearly they see a play on now if you're Chicago.
Nobody out here in the 7th. Callaspo showed bunt there. Kendrick easily walked back to the bag. Alberto shows bunt, takes a strike. And with Valbuena crashing here, you're hoping that Perhaps you bought one towards the first base line. Forced Rizzo to come in. Rizzo did not crash right there. Took a couple of steps in, though.
The lefty pitcher always falling towards third base. So that right side of the infield will be available for a bunt from Callaspo.
Very short lead for Howie at first base. Here's the 0-1. Callaspo pushes a bunt on the first base side. Russell goes into a slide, fields it cleanly, throws him out. So the sacrifice advances Kendrick into scoring position, representing the tying run with one out.
Russell got off the mound quickly to field that bunt. That's a good bunt by Callaspo. Well, maybe you have a chance at a hit. Well done by Callaspo. Sacrifice, gets the bunt down, and advances Howie into scoring position for Chris Iannetta.
Iannetta walked back in the second inning and hit a fly ball to center in the fifth. 0 for 1. First one to Chris. Strike on the corner. Russell got to the big leagues back in 2010, pitching 57 games. 64 games in 2011, 77 games last year with a 7-1 mark. 3.25 ERA. All out of the bullpen. Also picked up a couple of saves. The 0-1 pitch. Evens up the count. Cubs up 3-2 here in the seventh. One out. Kendrick at second. Little spin move by Russell.
Right-handed batter's only hitting .207 against Russell. Lefties, .159.
Now the 1-1 in the dirt. Nice block by Castillo. 2 balls and a strike.
Boy, he just rushed his changeup on that one in the dirt. Still did a nice job of keeping this ball in front of him. And how he was looking to make sure that ball didn't get too far away from Castillo. If it did, he was going to try to advance to third base.
Good hitters count at 2 balls and a strike. Pulled the string on him. 2-2. Action in the Cubs bullpen. Carlos Villanueva. J.B. Shuck is on deck. 2-2 pitch. Called strike 3 on the outside corner. 2 outs.
Boy, a fastball. We've seen that pitch called throughout the entire game by Jim Joyce. And it catches the outside corner.
Now Chris Nelson will come out to the on-deck circle. He'll be pinch hitting for J.B. Shuck. Swaim could counter, although it looks like Chris Bosio is going to go out there and talk things over here.
Bosio's done a nice job with this pitching staff. And the team ERA 3.8.
7th in the National League. J.B. Shuck finishes the afternoon, or pardon me, the evening 0 for 2. A couple of bouncers back to the mound against Feldman.
Bosio throwing a no-hitter at one point in his career. Very good slider himself, 2-seam fastball guy.
So Russell will face Nelson, with Howie Kendrick representing the tying run at second base. Hamilton led off the seventh with a double down the right field line. Kendrick brought him home with a single. Pass with a sac bunt. Iannetta just struck out looking. Nelson with the Angels has played now in 6 games. He's 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter. 3 for 8 overall with the Angels, with a couple of runs batted in. Sweeney playing very shallow in left field. Same with Shearholz in right. There's the first one. Upstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Big lead for Kendrick. There's a strike, even to count at 1-1.
Back-to-back sliders on the outer half, 1 out of the strike, so that one catches the corner. You mentioned a lot of sliders from Russell.
Here's the 1-1. 1-2.
Another slider, 3 sliders so far in this at bat. We wonder if we'll try to sneak a fastball in the outside corner now, similar to the pitch he threw to Iannetta after 3 straight sliders.
Well, he's kept those 2 sliders away from him. And time is called. Castillo, the catcher, is the one who called time as Russell was starting to become set.
Basio with Dale Swain. Said Basio's done a good job. The one thing that the pitching staff has not done consistently is out of the bullpen. Their ERA 4.26. Their starter ERA coming this game 3.64. So the starter's been more consistent than the bullpen for the Cubs.
1-2 to Nelson. Pops this one up. Shallow right field. Long run for Barney. Same for Shearholz, the right fielder. And the Angels get a run, but they leave the tying run in scoring position. 7 in the books. 3-2 Cubs.
Possible. And by 76, we're on the driver's side.
Well, the Cubs still lead the game here in the top of the 8th, 3-2. Angels score 1 in the bottom of the 7th to close the gap. Some changes for the Angels here. Chris Nelson remains in the game. He's playing second base. And Howie Kendrick goes from second base to left field. First game in left field this season. We've seen him play left field throughout his career as an Angel, but the first time he's been out there this season.
Robert Cuello takes over on the mound for Scott Downs, who had himself a 1-2-3 7th. A couple of strikeouts for Scotty. Robert pitching in his 11th game, 1-1 mark at a .73 ERA. He'll be facing Soriano, Shearholz, and Sweeney. Soriano with a couple of hits tonight. Fouls off the first one. 0-1 count. Oh-2 count quickly on Soriano. Had an RBI single in the 3rd inning. Mentioned that double just inside the bag in the 5th. That was against Jared Weaver. Weaver went 6 tonight, gave him 3 runs, 1 earned, Downs 1 inning, and now Cuello here in the 8th.
Cuello 18 punch-outs and 12 in the 3rd innings pitched this season. You see that fork ball coming up here.
Swing and a miss. Challenged him, and there's out number 1.
Well, he's able to go upstairs with his fastball very effectively. Hides the ball well. Location 93, gets a swing and miss. And he's able to go upstairs and get hitters to swing at that high fastball as well as anybody in the major leagues right now.
Shearholz tardy on that fastball. 0-1 count. He's 1 for 3 tonight. Had an RBI single back in the 1st. Fighter right and a strikeout since then. Angels are now 2 for 7 tonight with men in scoring position after the Nelson flyout. Now he backs up on this one, makes a catch, 2 outs. Hey, be sure to watch every Out of Market game live in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Just visit MLB.TV today. Baseball everywhere. 2 up and 2 down for Cuello. 8 in a row retired by Angels pitcher since the leadoff single by Sweeney in the 6th. Sweeney getting to start in left field. 2 for 3 tonight with a couple of singles and an RBI. Six hits for the Cubs, 6 hits for the Angels. Breaking pitch down the line. That's a fair ball. Sweeney with a 3-hit game as Howie gets the baseball back into the infield.
I mentioned him hitting .318 in his career versus the Angels. 3-hit game. Well placed base hits throughout the entire game for him.
So Starlin Castro will come up here with 2 outs and a man on. One 0 count. Castro's 0 for 3 tonight. A couple of pop-ups and a ground down. Got a feel for how quick Mike Trout is on the bases. He's He fielded a ground ball by Trout in the first inning. A little hesitation, and Trout legged it out for an infield base hit. 1-1 pitch. A little bit high, 2-1. The Angels, as a matter of fact, in the bottom of the 8th inning, will have 1, 2, and 3 coming up. Ibar, Trout, and Pujols. Let's see what Dale Swain will do here as far as the pitching is concerned. Carlos Villanueva is still loosening in the Cubs pen. Three and one now. Book on Feldman closed, 2 runs, both earned, 6 innings, plus 2 batters, 6 hits, 1 strikeout, 1 walk.
And you wonder if Dale Swain will put Russell back out for Eric Ibar and then go to the righty. Of course, Ibar to hit from the right side.
This one in the air to right. Hamilton moving to his left, is there, makes the catch. The inning comes to an end. We'll head to the bottom of the 8th inning. The Angels down by the score of 3-2. The top of the order coming up. Three to 2, new pitcher on the mound for the Chicago Cubs. It is Carlos Villanueva taking over for Russell. And they'll face 1, 2, and 3 for the Angels.
And Villanueva definitely not overpowering. Fastball 85 to 89 range. Slider, curve, very, very good. Plus changeup. So off speed, a lot of off speed. The Angels will see against Villanueva here in the 8th.
Halos faced him last year as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays. Once in relief, once as a starter. Made the start against the Angels up in Toronto on June 29th with 5 innings, gave up 3 runs on 7 hits in that one. Had a 1-inning relief stint here. Eric Ibar, Mike Trout, and Albert Pujols here in the 8th inning. The Angels with solo runs in the 1st and 7th. The Cubs getting their 3 runs back in the 1st, 1 run in the 1st, and then 2 unearned runs in the 3rd. Ibar 1 for 3, doubled and scored in the 1st inning. Breaking pitch is bunted foul. 0-1 count. Villanueva, 29 years of age. Dominican Republic. Last year, 38 games, 16 starts for the Blue Jays, 7-7 with a 4.16 ERA. 2 seasons with the Blue Jays after coming up and being in the big leagues with the Milwaukee Brewers. So Dale Swain very familiar with him. This back up the middle. The leadoff man is on board. Eric Ibar with a multi-hit game. He represents the tying run, and Trout coming up.
That's a good approach, good swing for Ibar. Right back up the middle, going away the field position well. The ball was hit too hard and by the glove. Now you have speed at first and speed at the plate. Mike Trout.
Trout 1 for 3, had a single, infield single in the first inning. Fly to center in the third, fly to right in the sixth. Valbuena playing in over at third base. A big lead for Ibar at first. Outfield straight around against Trout. First one is just low. 1 ball, no strikes. Russell, by the way, went 1 inning at 1 strike, get everything else zeros.
The Villanueva were very quick to the plate. Very difficult to steal here. If you're Eric Ibar, you're letting Mike Trout swing here.
Valbuena backs up at third now.
It's that great changeup he has. A plus pitch for him.
Counting it up at 1 ball, 1 strike. Second straight inning in which the Angels have had their leadoff man reach. Hamilton did so with a double in the 7th and came around to score. That's all the Angels would get. Still down by a run here in the 8th. And Ibar once again out to a big lead at first. Now the 1-1. Fastball in the air toward right center field. De Jesus giving chase on the warning track will make the catch. Ibar tags. To try to advance, a throw from De Jesus is off the glove of Castro, and Eric advances to second base, and now there's 1 out.
Boy, extremely aggressive, but that could have been a play, and he could have been out at second base. The catcher is able to hold on to that baseball.
And again, he was late in deciding to go back and tag up.
He was out there drifting to see if that ball was going to go off the wall initially, then got back to the base and tags up. Now in scoring position for Pujols.
Albert 0 for 2, had a sacrifice fly in the first. First one on the way. In the air to deep left field. Forget about it. Gone. Big fly for Albert Pujols for the 3 Angels.
Doesn't have quite the zipper on the fastball. The Feldman with movement to go inside. A very dangerous pitch, and he paid the price. Bench right now for the Angels. How happy is that bench to see their guy, the machine, go yard. His 9th home run of the season for Albert Pujols. A huge home run.
First since May 23rd, 484th of his career. As Trumbo takes a fastball up and in.
Well, how quick was he on that fastball? Very dangerous pitch. Unless you got mid-90s fastball late in the game, that's not the spot you want to challenge Albert Pujols, and he paid the price.
2 balls and no strikes. Swing and a pose.
That went a long, long way.
2 balls and 1 strike.
He's going back to the changeup now. No need to look and see how far that's going to go. You knew that baseball was flying over his head a long way.
This one's fouled back. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, we showed earlier in the game the split screen with Pujols. He was much better balanced on that swing and threw the baseball. And the struggles for the bullpen for Dale Swain.
Four 3 Halos here in the 8th. 2-run home run by Albert Pujols, putting the Angels on top. Ernesto getting ready. The Cubs in the 9th inning have 8, 9, and 1 due up. Castillo, Barney, and De Jesus. 2-2 pitch. Did he go around? He did. Rung up at first base by Corey Blazer. 2 outs.
Well, what a swing from Pujols. Running a 2-seam fastball inside, but you talk about getting your hands through the baseball and squaring it up. Pujols was able to do so over both bullpens.
Not even a courtesy jog by Ryan Sweeney in left.
No.
Hamilton hits one out toward left center field, not very deep. Coming over is Sweeney. He'll make the catch. The inning comes to an end, but not before Albert Pujols puts the Angels on top. A 2-run shot. 9th of the season. We head to the 9th. Ernesto Frieri coming in to try to close this one out. With the Angels up 4-3. Albert Pujols, 9th home run of the year, 2-run shot, putting the Angels up, trying to snap this 4-game losing streak. Take a look at our Chevron starting pitchers for tomorrow night.
That's a good pitching matchup. Matt Garza back from the disabled list. Very good stuff. 1-0 mark, 3.38 versus the reigning pitcher of the month in the American League, Jason Vargas, 5-3 with a 3.34 ERA for Jason Vargas, 5-0 in that month of May, in which he just dominated throughout the entire month. Back to his form, fastball command, changeup great, break a ball also.
A couple of defensive changes for the Angels. Mark Trumbo is now in the game and playing left field. Ernesto Frieri is taking over on the mound, trying to close this one out. So Trumbo is in left, and Howie Kendrick, who was in left, is back at second. Ernesto Frieri, in essence, inherits the 9th spot in the order. 8, 9, and 1. Castillo, Barney, De Jesus for the Cubs here in the 9th inning. Wellington Castillo, the catcher, 0 for 3. A couple of ground outs and a strikeout. First one on the way. Fastball strike. Frieri this year pitching now in his 23rd ball game. 0-1 mark, a 3.42 ERA. 33 punch outs, 17 walks though at 23 2/3 innings. Trying to hone in the command. That is up and in. Evens the count up at 1-1.
Well, like we've said a number of times with Ernesto, it's so important for his mechanics to keep his front shoulder in long enough to be able to create a good arm angle to hit his spots in the strike zone.
First time on the mound since Thursday's win against the Dodgers. Swing and a miss, 1-2. Had one inning now and gave up a hit, but also had 2 strikeouts. Fairly clean inning. Lead off single to Harrison in the 9th, and then the next 3 in the books. Now the 1-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, down goes Castillo. 1 away.
The all-important first out of the 9th inning for Ernesto. Good velocity on the fastball here. But consistent 95-96, getting that punch out.
Stick around after the last out. Angels Live presented by your SoCal Mazda dealers. Michael Leaves and Tim Salmon. Jose Mota will be joining and bringing it all down. Darwin Barney, the second baseman, steps in. 1 out, nobody on. Fastball in for a strike. Oh, 2.
A lot of 96-mile-an-hour fastballs so far in these first 6 pitches thrown from Ernesto Frieri. 5 in the strike zone for him.
Barney tonight is 0 for 3. All 3 fly ball outs. 0-2 on the way. Late on the fastball. The count remains at no balls and 2 strikes.
See if you can paint a fastball down and away right here if you're Ernesto.
Jabbed him. It's a little flare out to shallow right. And it's a 1-out base hit for Darwin Barney.
Well, we've seen the Cubs a lot of flares into the outfield.
Back to the top of the order we go. David DeJesus, the center fielder, comes up.
Barney with a couple stolen bases this year.
DeJesus is 0 for 4 tonight. He struck out the last 2 times up, the 4th and the 7th. Frieri, the 3rd reliever, used by Mike Scioscia. Weaver went 6. 3 runs, 1 earned in his 6 innings. Downs a scoreless 1 inning with 2 strikeouts. Cuello scoreless 1, and now Ernesto trying to close it out. Callaspo playing in over at third base. Outfield straight around for the Angels against DeJesus. The first one's way inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
Iannetta had to reach back and be able to catch that fastball off the inside corner. Very important to be able to catch that baseball. Otherwise, Barney advances to second base in the scoring position.
This one pulled foul. Count even up at a ball and a strike. Okay, Jesus is pretty quick on that fastball.
I'm going away. Go away with the fastball.
1-1 pitch. Broken bat, roller to first. Pujols tags first base, fires to second base. The tag, not in time. Well, what a play by both Albert and Ibar. Sosa's going to come out and argue as Jeff Nelson made the call.
Well, that was a great throw from Pujols.
From here, it looked like the throw beat him. But Nelson made the call.
Boy, strong, perfect throw.
Got him.
Because the foot wasn't on the base, it was still in the air. And wasn't making contact with the base. But what a job by Pujols. That's not an easy throw.
Mike Scioscia has his say.
Nelson was pointing as if the tag was higher on the body.
Which is fine, but where's the leg?
Because that front leg is still in the air. It's the back leg that's hitting the base. But he was in great position. Just forget about it and get the batter.
2 outs, tying run at second base. Luis Valbuena, the batter. He's the third baseman. 0 for 3 tonight. Was also hit by a pitch in the first. Popped up third base side and toward the seats it goes, and it's an 0-1 count. Valbuena has twice popped out and has struck out. Oh, 1 pitch. Third base side again and into the seats. The 3 area ahead of the count at no balls and 2 strikes. Anna sets up outside. The 0-2 swing and a miss. Down goes Valbuena. Light that baby up as the Angels snap their 4-game losing string. It is a 4-3 victory tonight.
Boy, what a game here. Big victory for Mike Scioscia's Angels after that closed-door meeting last night. Responded Albert Pujols, the machine, with a 2-run home run. But Ernesto Frieri, the 2 punch-outs in the 9th inning, getting his 13th save of the season. Consistent 95-96 with running action. Finished it off. Good job by the bullpen. 3 shutout innings, but that's the man right there. Albert Pujols, a tremendous home run. Howie Kendrick, 3-hit performance. Eric Ibar, 2 hits, 2 runs scored. Huge victory for the Angels after that tough series with the Astros. That's all over. Win the first game of this 2-game set against the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, it's nice to see the Angels come back out, especially late in the ball game, picking up a run in the 7th. Josh Hamilton with that leadoff double coming around to score. Then Eric Ibar with a leadoff single in the bottom of the 8th inning as he came around to score on that 2-run home run by Albert Pujols. 4-3, the Angels win it. Albert is down on the field with Jose Mota.
Thanks a lot, Victor. Well, Albert, no secret to anybody, the Angels needed a win. How good does it feel for you guys right now?
Well, definitely. The last 4 games here haven't been fun, but we came here and ready to play. Obviously, it took us a little while to get our offense going, but it's always good to get a win.
The home run, you knew a little bit about Carlos Villanueva, the way he's pitched you in the past. Were you looking for a particular pitch in that situation?
I was just looking for something up and try to put my best swing of the night, and that's what happened.
How do you like the way the guys came out with a little more urgency, more plays put on early in the game to pressure the Cubs?
You know what? These fans don't see what happened at our clubhouse. I mean, we fire up every day to play. Just this is baseball. Sometimes things go our way, and all the time it doesn't go our way. Just like we were last week, our offense was on fire. Our pitching was pitching great. Our bullpen, everything was together. And just the last week or so here, it's not the same. But it's a long season, and we're just going to keep fighting.
What is the message you see from a guy like Jared Weaver when he's on the mound, and the message he sends to everybody by the way he goes out there, even without his best stuff?
Well, we have our ace, and he's going to fight just like the other 4 guys. Every time they take that ball, every 5th day, they're going to give us a chance to win.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you, Bobby.
Albert Pujols gets it done, along with the other big bat for the Angels, Josh Hamilton, Howie Kendrick. The bats come alive. The Angels win, and the streak is over. Angels Live with Michael and Tim coming up.